Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Vechain and its valuation against USD, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. If you guys like the content, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. So, we've only done maybe maybe two videos or so on Vechain in the past. I'm guessing this is our third one, but I cannot remember entirely. But why are we talking about it today? Well, it's starting to make a move, and I wanted to provide an update based on some of the charts we looked at in the past. So if we go over to CoinMarketCap, we see that a lot of coins are down today, right? I mean, Bitcoin's down about 10%, just another day. Ethereum's down 7%, Binance Coin's down 7%, ADA's down 4%, Polkadot's down 13%, etc. You go over here, you look at VeChain, where is it? On the day, it's up 5%. On the week, it's up 23, a modest 23%, right? Nothing to get out of bed for, but a modest 23%, while Bitcoin's only up 5% on the week and Ethereum's down 3% on the week. So VeChain is showing a lot of strength. Now, one of the reasons why I don't talk about VeChain as much is because my position in VeChain is a lot smaller than my position in my other coin that I like to generally trade against Ethereum. Okay, so a lot of times you'll hear me talk about ADA, and we look at the ADA Ether valuation, right? And ADA Ether has this fairly well-defined market structure against Ethereum, where when it goes above this level, when it gets to this level, you want to be cautious. As it continues going up, you want to be even more cautious, okay? This helps you from maybe FOMOing into ADA when it's going back to valuations that it had against Ethereum from 2017, 2018. So you look at VeChain Ether and you see something relatively similar, right? Now, there's a lot of new people in the space and they tend to only value their crypto in USD, but I think that taking the time to understand why it's important to look at them in terms of their valuation in Ether and Bitcoin is going to take you a long ways. Okay, it'll take you a long ways because a lot of them really do behave fairly similarly. If you look at VeChain's evaluation against Ether, it comes down to this bottom band several times, and that tends to be the bottom against Ether, not against USD. This tends to be the top in this region. Okay, we've had some intermediate tops, just like ADA has had against Ethereum, right? ADA has had some intermediate tops in this region where it doesn't actually go all the way back up, but it sort of comes back to this yellow region. So what does that mean with VeChain? Well, I have a position in VeChain, but again, it's not as big as some of the other positions, which is why I don't talk about it a lot. But I know a lot of you guys like VeChain, and I do have a position in it, and we see it going up on its Ether valuation. Why is this important? Well, we did it. We talked about this on the live stream earlier. It went right back to that intermediate top that it has gone to other times, right? It not only had an intermediate top here and here, we had two wicks exactly to this valuation at around 4,700, or just around 4,700 on its Ether valuation, okay? So with that in mind, we sort of have to look at this and say, well, we know that it could get stopped here. So it's certainly possible that the VeChain Ether valuation stops here and we don't see it make a further move. And you could just consider that to be, all right, well, nothing to get out of bed for, but I'm going to at least keep it in the back of my mind that, hey, if you have a VeChain position and you're sort of riding it out for a more prime opportunity, you might keep an eye on this, right? If it breaks out like it has done twice above this level, two key times, and if it makes a run for the title, up at maybe 7,500 with its valuation against Ethereum, which would, by the way, represent another, from the current valuation, if it were to go to, say, 7,500 up here, that would represent another 75% move. So that would be a fairly substantial move. Now, if it did that, you could say, well, it doesn't necessarily have to repeat history. It doesn't necessarily mean that it will continue to drop back down like it has in the past. However, you guys know me. I'm more of a, this time is not necessarily different, especially when it comes to altcoins, right? And we look at these valuations and we say, you know what? We have a peak here, we have a peak here, and then when we came back over here in July, we said, all right, there's a good chance this could be the local top. And recently with ADA against Ethereum, I said, hey, you know what? We're at the prior local tops that we've had for a long time, but if a set of conditions exist in the market to allow the ADA Ether valuation to go above this level, it's these conditions, right? So I will say the same thing about VeChain Ether. If a set of conditions exists to allow VeChain, in my opinion, to go above this valuation here, it's these conditions. It's in a bull market, right? It's when we're in a bull market. So with that in mind, I'm not saying that VeChain will go back up and make a run at the title. I'm not saying that in any stretch of the imagination. It's more so how you react to it. So you might consider, it's not financial advice, but you might consider, if the VeChain valuation's coming up here, and you're wondering, hey, should I go DCA into VeChain if it's going parabolic like every other new money into the space? Maybe take a step back and say, you know what? If we go to that level, people are going to be incredibly excited, right? People are already excited because, I've gotten the comments about it, and there's reason to be excited because when you're looking at a week where most everything is down, and then you see VeChain sort of shining at plus 23%, it's easy to get excited about it. So if it were to go up another 75% against Ethereum, imagine how excited people will be. Imagine how many YouTubers will be talking about it at that point. So something to keep in mind, keep it in the back of your head. We'll see if it makes it there. I don't know if it will, but if it does, it might present a key opportunity. Okay. Now let's look at the VeChain Bitcoin valuation because it actually looks somewhat similar to the Ether Bitcoin valuation over, we've seen this sort of Ether Bitcoin valuation trend shift since January of 2020. If you go look at the VeChain Bitcoin valuation, it sort of has a similar trend shift, but about a year after. Okay, about a year after Ethereum's did. So with that in mind, where are we? Well, we could always draw lines on a chart. I don't really think they mean anything. You could argue that we're sort of getting somewhat extended where we currently are, something like that. And to say it's not necessarily out of the question to see it pull back against Bitcoin. I don't know exactly what that would look like, whether it means the valuation of Bitcoin's going up and VeChain is sitting still, or whether it means maybe Bitcoin's going up and VeChain's going up, but VeChain's not going up as quickly as Bitcoin's going up, therefore it will allow the VeChain valuation to bleed. Or the other way, obviously, would be if Bitcoin capitulates, then there's a good chance the entire altcoin market would capitulate more, and therefore the VeChain valuation against Bitcoin would go down. But I'm just sort of speculating. We know that VeChain is capable of going to higher valuations than this, well, because it's done it before. Right now it's at 141 Satoshis. We've seen it go to 238 Satoshis in the past. So we know that VeChain, again, the valuation of VeChain against Bitcoin could theoretically go up to 67% higher from where it currently is if history is any indication. So I don't want to say it has to stop where it currently is, but just saying, you know what, we are fairly extended against Bitcoin. If we break out above it and we start to see one of these parabolic moves where it just starts going relatively quickly, don't get swept away in the mania. Stay calm, take a step back, see where we are. We'll take it one step at a time. And then last but not least, well, maybe last but least, we'll look at the VeChain Ethereum or the VeChain USD valuation. We can look at our bull market support band, which probably isn't as useful for some of these altcoins, but just to get an idea as to where it is, it's currently at just over 3 cents up to 3.7. So you'd be looking at least a 50% drop to get back to that band if we were to have a major capitulation, right? So imagine if Bitcoin capitulated to say its 20-week moving average, right? So if Bitcoin capitulated down to its 20-week moving average, then we would expect a lot of altcoins to have substantial pullbacks. Now for Bitcoin, the capitulation would only be about maybe 35 to 40% from its current valuation, which it has bled significantly over the last couple of days because it's now only at $54,000 back from where it went a few days ago. It'd be a 45% move if it were to keep going down. But for altcoins, we know they tend to bleed more. And from this local top, it could represent a 65% drop. We saw plenty of Ethereum 65, 70% drops during the last market cycle. So we know that it's theoretically possible. Ideally, if the market conditions can stay like they are, where Bitcoin is sort of letting other coins take over for a while, it would not necessarily be the worst thing in the world if VeChain had a further parabolic move before Ethereum did, and maybe went up to this level, and then maybe you could take some of those profits from VeChain over to Ethereum, and then if Ethereum pumps against Bitcoin, then you take some of those profits from Ethereum over to Bitcoin or to USD, depending on what your motives are. Hopefully this video is useful. It's It's somewhat convoluted, but I think I hope you're able to sort of follow the thought process there. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Click the bell icon to turn on your alerts so you don't miss a video. Remember, we have the altcoin season sale on the premium list. You can find a link to that in the description below. We're going to stop that relatively soon. I'm letting it go a couple more days longer than I initially planned because there was a lot of traffic to the site and some people had a hard time signing up. So make sure you guys check it out. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Bye.